a strong wind suddenly picked up. The sky darkened, and the trees began to sway violently. Florence stood up, her heart racing. She could feel the presence of something dark and powerful approaching. John rushed out of the house, his face filled with concern. "It's here," he said urgently. "The darkness from your vision, we need to prepare." As weeks passed, Florence's life continued to change. She had grown stronger, not just physically but spiritually. The powers of the stone were becoming more familiar to her, but with them came new challenges. Rumors began to spread throughout Accra about a woman with magical abilities. Some people admired her, while others grew fearful and suspicious. One evening, as Florence was closing her shop, she noticed a group of people gathered outside. They were whispering and pointing at her. Among them was a man named Femi, one of the old suitors who had rejected her. He stopped forward, his eyes filled with suspicion. "Florence," Femi called out, "we've heard stories about you. Some say you've been dabbing in dark magic. Is it true?" Florence felt a chill run down her spine. She had never wanted to be feared or misunderstood, but she knew that the power she wield was not something people could easily comprehend. She took a deep breath and replied, "I am not practicing dark magic, Femi. I was given a gift that I used to help others. I would never harm anyone." Femi narrowed his eyes. "Then why do strange things keep happening around you? Why do people disappear, and why does your shop never run out of customers? There is something unnatural about it." Before Florence could respond, a voice from the crowd shouted, "She's a witch. We should drive her out before she brings more misfortune to our city." Fear began to spread through the crowd, and Florence realized that she was in a great danger. She needed to find a way to calm down before things get out of hand. As the crowd grew more restless, Florence knew she had to act quickly. She reached for the stone in her pocket, feeling its comforting warmth, but she also remembered John's warning. She had to be careful with its power. "Please," Florence said, raising her hands in a gesture of peace, "I am not your enemy. I have only ever used my abilities to help others. But if you feel threatened by me, I will leave." The crowd hesitated, unsure of what to do. Florence slowly backed away, her heart pounding. She knew she couldn't stay in Accra anymore, at least not until the situation calmed down. As she turned to leave, she heard someone call her name. It was John, standing at the edge of the crowd. He motioned for her to follow him, and she did so without hesitation. They quickly made their way through the narrow streets of Accra, leaving the angry crowd behind. Florence's mind was racing. She had never imagined that her powers would put her life in danger. She needed to find a safe place to hide and figure out what to do next. John led Florence to a small, secluded house on the outskirts of the city. It was hidden among the tall trees, far from prying eyes. Inside, the house was cozy and warm, with simple furnishings and a small fire burning in the hearth. "This place belongs to a friend," John explained as he guided Florence inside. "You can stay here until things calm down. No one will find you here." Florence was grateful for John's help, but she couldn't shake the feeling of fear that lingered in her heart. "John, why is this happening? Why are people so afraid of me?" John sighed and sat down beside her. "People fear what they don't understand, Florence. Your powers are rare and they don't know how to react. But you mustn't let their fear control you. You have a gift, and with it comes responsibility. You must use it to protect yourself and others." Florence nodded, but she still felt a deep sense of uncertainty. She knew she couldn't hide forever. She needed to find a way to live in peace without abandoning her powers or her people. That night, as Florence lay in bed, she had another strange dream. This time, she found herself standing on the edge of a cliff, overlooking a vast ocean. The sky was dark and storm clouds were gathering on the horizon. As she watched, a great wave rose from the sea, threatening to engulf everything in its path. But before the wave could reach her, a bright light appeared in the distance. It grew stronger and stronger until it pushed back the wave, calming the storm. Florence turned to see the source of the light, and there, standing beside her, was the old woman from her previous dream. "You have faced many challenges, Florence," the old woman said in a gentle voice. "But the greatest one is yet to come. There is darkness in the world, and it seems to destroy all that is good. But you have the power to stop it. You must be brave and trust in yourself." Florence woke up with a start, her heart pounding. The old woman's words echoed in her mind. She knew that the dream was a warning, a sign that something terrible was coming. But she also knew she had the strength to face it. In the days that followed, Florence prepared herself for the challenges ahead. She spent time meditating with the stone, learning to control its power more effectively. John stayed by her side, offering guidance and support. But despite their efforts, Florence could feel a growing tension in the air. Something was coming, and it was getting closer. One afternoon, while Florence was sitting outside the house, a strong wind suddenly picked up. The sky darkened, and the trees began to sway violently. Florence stood up, her heart racing. She could feel the presence of something dark and powerful approaching. John rushed out of the house, his face filled with concern. "It's here," he said urgently. "The darkness from your vision, we need to prepare." Florence nodded, her mind focused. She knew this was the moment she had been waiting for, the moment she would have to confront the evil that threatened her world. As the storm grew stronger, Florence and John made their way to an open field near the edge of the forest. The air was thick with tension, and the ground trembled beneath their feet. Florence could feel the stone in her pocket pulsing with energy, ready to be unleashed. Suddenly, the darkness took shape, forming into a towering figure with glowing red eyes. It radiated an aura of pure malevolence, and its voice echoed through the air like a clap of thunder. "You dare to challenge me, human?" the figure roared. "I am the darkness that has plagued this world for centuries. No one can stop me." Florence stood her ground, her hand clenched around the stone. "I won't let you harm anyone," she declared, her voice steady despite the fear in her heart. "You will not win." With a mighty roar, the dark figure charged at Florence. But before it could reach her, she raised the stone, and a beam of golden light shot out, striking the figure with incredible force. The darkness recoiled, but it quickly recovered and attacked again. The battle raged on, with Florence using the power of the stone to fight off the darkness. Each time the dark figure struck, Florence countered with a burst of light, pushing it back. But the darkness was relentless, and Florence could feel her strength waning. John watched from the sidelines, his heart filled with worry. He knew Florence couldn't keep this up forever. She needed help, but he wasn't sure how to give it. As the darkness closed in on Florence, she remembered the old woman's words from her dream. "You must be brave and trust in yourself." Florence knew she had to dig deep, to find the strength within her to overcome this challenge. With a fierce determination, Florence focused all her energy into the stone. The light grew brighter and brighter until it engulfed the entire field. The dark figure screamed in agony as the light pierced through its form, breaking it apart piece by piece. Finally, with one last burst of energy, the darkness was destroyed, and the storm began to dissipate. The sky cleared, and the sun broke through the clouds, bathing the field in warm golden light. As the light faded, Florence fell to her knees, exhausted but victorious. The stone in her hand returned to its normal state, its power spent. John rushed to her side. "You did it, Florence," John said with a smile of relief. "You defeated the darkness." Florence smiled weakly, her body trembling from the effort. "I couldn't have done it without you, John." Thank you for being here with me." John nodded, but his expression grew serious. "The battle may be over, but the fight isn't finished. There will always be darkness in this world, and there will always be those who seek to harm others. But you have shown that the light within you is stronger than any evil." Florence knew he was right. The battle had taught her that she had the strength to face any challenge, no matter how daunting. She had learned to trust in herself and to use her powers for good. With the darkness defeated, Florence and John returned to Accra. The people who had once feared her were now in awe of her bravery. They had heard about the battle and how Florence had saved them from a terrible fate. They welcomed her back with open arms, grateful for her courage and selflessness. Even Femi, who had accused her of witchcraft, came to apologize. "I was wrong about you, Florence," he said, his voice filled with regret. "You are a true hero, and I am sorry for doubting you." Florence forgave him, knowing that fear had clouded his judgment. She had learned that true power wasn't just about strength, it was about forgiveness, compassion, and understanding. As Florence settled back into her life in Accra, she realized that her journey was far from over. The battle with the darkness had given her a new sense of purpose. She knew that there were others in the world who needed her help, people who were facing their own battles with darkness. Florence decided to dedicate her life to helping those in need. She opened a small center in Accra where people could come for guidance, healing, and support. She used her powers to bring light into the lives of others, just as the stone had brought light into hers. John stayed by her side, helping her run the center and offering his wisdom and guidance. Together they made a difference in the lives of countless people, spreading hope and positivity throughout the community. As the years passed, Florence Center became a beacon of hope in Accra. People from all over the city came to seek her help, and Florence's reputation as a wise and powerful woman grew. But despite her success, Florence never forgot the lesson she had learned from the stone. She kept the stone close, using its power sparingly and only when necessary. She knew that it was not the stone that made her strong, but the light within her, the light that came from kindness, compassion, and love. Florence also made sure to pass on her knowledge to others. She taught the people who came to her center about the importance of helping one another, of standing up to darkness, and of finding the strength within themselves to overcome any challenge.